Welcome to another episode of the Jersey Oddcast with Joseph F. Bernardo, Gabriel J. Donio, and me, Gina Rulo. Hey guys, what's going on?
Little of this, little of that, the usual.
Another
Theme?
great week. Another great week. Looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, why don't we dive right in? I don't know if anyone saw online or knew anyone who attended, but Cape Regional Urgent Care in downtown Hammonton on 2nd Street, at the corner of Bellevue and 2nd Street to be specific, held an open house of sorts, and they showcased a lot of photos online of the, I guess you would say, the decor approach they took. They're featuring a lot of neat historic photos. And from a couple people I talked that went to the event, they said it was really wonderful and they seem to be embracing Hammonton's history. What do you guys think of the design of the building so far and what you've seen online?
I was amazed at how seemingly quickly they held their grand opening, and then when I saw the interior, I'm like, oh, it's finished. I love the brick face that they have on the exterior, and I'm a huge fan of that type of interior design where you have old photos of the area and old photos of the town. They're not the first, and hopefully they won't be the last to incorporate that type of design. I mean, even going so far back as there was a brick oven pizzeria 25 years ago on the White Horse Pike that had that type of design.
Those,
Yes,
the
yes,
Musa.
Camusas. Thank you. I think it's a way to pay homage to the history that came before while moving towards the future. So I thought it looked beautiful.
Yeah, I'll echo Joe's remarks because I think, we almost take it for granted that we have such a storied history in this town and that we have so many photographs of it that are able to be blown up and so many resources. Like I believe Mazio Studio was a resource, and some of these other places that they went to for these just gorgeous, many of them black and white photos. Some of them blow up to the entire wall, right, Joe,
Yeah,
inside.
yeah.
And this started, years ago with places like South Jersey Chest Diseases downtown, and of course the banks, TD Bank, Wells Fargo Bank, other banks highlighting history of the town through photos. I have to say the building inside and out has become already such a landmark and an asset to the downtown and the entire town that it's when you drive by, and I hear there's more to come, like a mural on the back.
Ooh,
So that's going to be something special. I'm hearing some other things. When they complete the whole thing, it's going to be a marvel, and I think it's needed in the sense we talked before. Do we need, how many urgent cares do we need? But I do think that the way that this has been done is first rate, and it shows that they have a real commitment to the community.
yeah.
What do you think, Gina?
Like you said, South Jersey chest diseases, Capital Bank, a few others, they've really embraced the old of Hamilton while bringing something new. And I think that really shows a commitment to the community. And I hope it also means that they're going to be very involved with the downtown events and that they're going to be a vibrant community partner. So I am super excited for that. I'd like to see what happens. I hope the medical care matches the level of the appearance of the building, and I'm optimistic. I'm hearing that they might have a pharmacy inside so that when you go and let's say you have illness, you need medication, you can pick it up while you're there. I think that would be incredibly convenient to people. So I'm excited for them. I'm excited for them to open. And again, it's a building that's been empty for many years, and to have it filled and looking this sharp is exciting to see. So
Yeah,
I'm looking
it's
forward
a
to the spring and what when they start treating patients in there.
it's a complete 180 at that corner of Bellevue and Second for that corner, and I think I've no doubt anyone who's willing to make that kind of investment on the physical structure, I think they'll have a good health care in there, or will be investing in it. And that, what you said, Gene, about a pharmacy involved, that would be a great asset too.
Absolutely.
And then in other news, I saw something cool from the Hamilton High School Band. Do you want to tell us about it, Joe?
Yeah, and I'm going to preface this by saying that I did not realize that there was that that great of a time gap, but the marching band, the Blue Devils marching band, announced the other day that Hamilton High School will once again be hosting a home band competition through U.S. Bands. I believe the last time it was done, it was through TOB, Tournament of Bands, and it said that it's the first time in 24 years, and that means that the last time was in 2001. And I talked to some people that I knew from high school and who were a couple of years younger than me, and they're like, no, that's impossible because it was during our senior year. And then they stopped and they actually did the math to realize that, yes, in fact, it has been almost a quarter century since Hamilton hosted a home band competition, which is long overdue, I would say. And according to the information that it is going to be on October 4th of year. So really looking.
I am too. I was never in the marching band, but I was, and I love to see the band students really getting people hyped up. And Hamilton's marching band is legendary over the years. So maybe there'll be some sort of alumni event. I don't know. I just think there's a great opportunity there.
Yeah.
In other news, I don't know if you guys saw, but JD Calderone, a young man from Hammonton, announced that he is running for town council to finish out the Republican slate. I find this very exciting because it shows that there are young people willing to get involved in against each other for office. If the Democrats want to, they can still put together a full slate. I believe they still have time. And, JD, again, is a young man from Hamilton, graduated from Hamilton High School, I want to say in like 2020, goes to Drexel. I think he's 22, going to be 23 this year. And it's just, if elected, he would bring some interesting energy to the town council, which is, 15 to 20 years older at the younger end and much, older, 40 plus years with some of our other, a couple of our older members of council. So it could be interesting points of view. What do you guys think?
From my standpoint, I mean, it's great to see people getting involved at any age, particularly younger.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
There's a history of this, young people. I believe John Cavuto, and I'm going back to the
Oh
1950s,
wow.
but was a very, very young councilman when he started. I'm not saying that that's the only one who was very young, but he stands out in my mind. I believe he told me once that he was among the youngest, if not the youngest, council member in town council
John
history.
Lyons was very young when he joined the school board.
Yes.
Right, there's
Yes.
another example, and I think that look when we started in journalism. I think I'm remembering this right. I was 23. Gina, you were 20. Joe, you were
Yep.
19. I don't think for us, age is just a number. We don't really think of it that way. If you're the qualified person for the job, the voters will decide that. But I think it's great to throw your hat in the ring and decide to run. So J.D. Calderon is now rounding out that Republican slate, which is good, as you said, Gina, because I don't like it when we see incomplete slates. I think it's good,
Agreed.
and if the Democrats want to get involved, I think it would be great because that's democracy, and I think it would be great to have three slates running for council, every year.
Yeah.
A lot of choice.
Yeah. And I'll I'll,
How about you,
I'll
Joe?
echo what you're saying about age and people of that age in general getting involved. We got involved at a very young age. We didn't run for office, but it still came from the same place. Love enough of your community that you want to effect positive change. Identify the things that could be improved. We chose a different route, and I think it's fantastic. People of that age are feel like they're so invested in the community that running for office is a way to help effect positive change. So I'm this.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting several months until we get there. I am sure we'll be reading all the bios online. And for the three of us, in order to read the bios online, we're going to need some glasses. And Gabe, if we need glasses, where should we go?
You can go to the same place I go. These glasses are from Hammonton Family Eye Care, and I have another pair coming soon. I have to get an eye exam, but after that, I'll have another pair on the way from Hammonton Family Eye Care. And everyone should see Hammonton Family Eye Care for routine and medical eye care for all ages. From glasses to contacts to eye exams and more, visit Hammonton Family Eye Care at Peachtree Plaza, 80 South Whitehorse Pike in Hammonton. Call 609 567 7479 or go to hamiltonfamilyeyecare.com for more information. Great place to get glasses, and the people there are first rate, just first rate
Excellent.
people.
Thank you, Gabe. Sadly, some sad news came out of our neighboring town, Winslow Township. Gabe, do you mind telling us a little bit about what happened?
Yes, Gina. Let me, according to a release from the Camden County Prosecutor's Office, there was a self inflicted fatal injury during a police encounter that would have happened on February 26th. And it was in Winslow Township. A police encounter occurred in the vicinity of Lehigh Manor Estates, Sicklerville, resulting in one individual sustaining a self inflicted fatal injury, according to prosecutor Grace C. McCauley. And the investigation conducted by the prosecutor's office confirmed that no shots were fired by any law enforcement officers during this encounter. A Winslow Township Police Department officer was removed from the scene for medical treatment, a release said. The officer's injuries appear to be non life threatening, according to the release. So the investigation also confirmed that this was an isolated incident and that there is no active threat to area residents or the surrounding community, and the investigation remains active and ongoing, according to the release. That's all I have on that, but it's a tragedy anytime a life is lost. So,
Absolutely. And, Winslow Township is our neighboring community. We're sad to see those things that happen and know that it's just a couple miles away. It's just removed from happening, locally in Hammonton and can happen anywhere. And I'm glad to hear that nobody else was injured, but very sorry for the loss of life that did occur. In other news, Joe, the Oak Grove Cemetery was honored by town council at the recent council meeting. I believe you were present and can fill us in on some of those details. It's one of the oldest cemeteries it's the oldest cemetery in Hamilton, right? And is it one of the older ones in South Jersey?
It is the oldest active cemetery in Hammonton. There is an older one that was founded in the 1830s or 40s, back when Coffin had his mill. But that was only around for about
Okay.
15 years. But we are the oldest active one in Hammonton, and we're one of the oldest private cemeteries in Atlantic County that is still active. And February 22nd was the cemetery's 165th anniversary. So at the February 24th meeting of Town Council, um, I, along with several of the board members, were presented with a proclamation from Town Council in celebration of our anniversary, and we were honored and humbled to receive it, and we greatly appreciated the recognition.
How many residents about does the cemetery welcome each year? Like new residents moving in, if you
It
will.
it
before you answer that, I just want to make a note. Explain why they're called residents of the cemetery.
It's a nice term, and actually, it has been gaining traction in the death care industry over the last several years, calling the decedents residents as opposed to any other term that you might use, like how many people are there? Residents. It sounds nice because I mean it's their final resting place, so resident. It's a very nice term. And currently we have more than 4,000, and depending on the year, I'd say we probably welcome between 30 and 40 residents per year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear they're dying to get in there.
Eve just made a dad joke, and he's not a dad.
Legitimately, I know this is a very old and very hackneyed phrase, but honestly, if I had a nickel for every time someone has said that to me, I could go on vacation.
I know, but the opportunity is just can't be missed. Well, at least I couldn't pass it up. So, but I think it's a great honor to be that the council took time and gave you guys, I guess, a proclamation,
Yep.
right, Joe? What'd you
Yeah,
get
we got a
before the whole
yep,
town council?
nice framed proclamation, and it'll be going up on our wall in the office. So
Very fun, Joe. And Gabe, thank you for that dad joke.
Oh.
Oh boy. The Hammonton makers will be welcoming Adam Cover of Stone Ground Cold Brew on Wednesday, March 19th. The Hammonton makers meet at Warehouse 15, which is a creative space where people can work on their craft or on projects. It's located at 15 A Street. Adam has a passion for cold brew coffee. He's going to tell his maker's story and share his passion for coffee. And if I had to guess, I'm sure he'll bring some samples. So if you're interested in checking that out, that's Wednesday, March 19th from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Again, 15 A Street. You can find more information online. HammontonMakers.org is the website. And again, it's just one more way that Hammonton and the greater Hammonton area is special. We have all different events for different people's interests. And I know you two love coffee. I don't drink it, but this might be something you guys want to go check out. I don't know.
To say I love coffee is probably a bit of an understatement. So,
Yeah. I think that's like half your nicknames,
oh
isn't
yeah,
it, Joe?
yeah,
One
yeah,
of one
yeah.
of them.
Coffee Joe. I've been at for 20 years.
Around and if there's coffee, bonus. So yeah, I think that's great that they're putting it on, and it's great to have again a group like this in town that's pushing that creativity and doing always doing something. And they took that whole building, which used to be, we were just talking about it,
Hmm.
Morano's,
Paper good.
and,
Yeah,
so Morano's paper goods and turned it into something completely different. We're seeing a
I
lot of
will.
transformation between the urgent care center, buildings like this, the Makerspace, Warehouse 15. There's a lot of transformation of these buildings in town. It's pretty cool.
I will say there was something really neat about Morano's when it was in operation. Like if you were having a party or if you needed certain supplies, you would go there and it was very old school, throwbacky. And like you could get like your little those tins you use when you're having like a party and you need the little
Chafing dishes,
sterno. Yeah, the chafing dishes, like all that stuff. If you needed like plastic tablecloths, paper cups, all
a,
that, they had it
a
all.
pinata, if you needed a
yeah.
Yeah,
pinata.
Cardboard
they had all
cutouts for
kinds of neat things in
holidays.
there.
They had all of it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And to now see it being used for something that is, I don't want to say similar, but it didn't go completely opposite in that it's a medical
Right.
office. It has a little something else going on for it, you know. But
But you
in
can't get a
also,
shamrock now. The
no.
paper shamrock.
You can make one though,
Yes.
maybe.
Yes, you
Yeah.
could. You can make your own
Maybe they have a
That's
cardboard
right.
3D
cutouts.
printer.
Yeah.
Maybe, right. Maybe make one out of wood or a 3D printer version of a shamrock.
In sad news, Gene Hackman was found dead last week along with his wife and one of their dogs. It seems that Gene Hackman and his wife had been dead for some time. And when you hear the news of someone's passing who is such a legendary actor, I believe he was 95 years
Yes.
old. You think about all the movies he was in, and how many of them are like, oh my God, I love that movie. Oh, that movie was fantastic. What are your favorite Gene Hackman movies? And we'll start with Gabe.
I have a bunch, but I'll limit it. I mean, he had such a prolific career. But just to show the range, you had Unforgiven, which he received an Academy Award for later in his career. You had The Conversation. Then you had Enemy of the State, which was like sort of The Conversation's sequel. You had Hoosiers, which everyone talks about. And you had Crimson Tide, which was he played a sub
Oh, I
captain
forgot about Crimson
opposite to
Tide.
Denzel Washington. And I mean, in every one of them, you couldn't take your eyes off the screen because he was so riveting and such a commanding presence on screen. You just wanted to see what he did next. So it's a tremendous loss. I know he was, 95 years old, but the decades. And I left one out, but I'll just say it: the Poseidon Adventure. I
Yep.
mean, and that's a B movie that he elevated just by being in it. So I think when I think of Gene Hackman, I think of an actor who was probably the best defined as an actor's actor, that other actors looked to him and said, that's what I want to be. I want to be like Gene Hackman. So it's a big loss. I'm sorry to him and his family. and to his wife, of course, who died. I should add that the whole thing is it's a tremendous tragedy.
Absolutely. I mean, when I first read that Gene Hackman had died, I'm like, okay, well, he's 95. This is to be expected. And then I read The Manor, and it went from being expected to just being an absolute tragedy. But it has made me reflect, like you mentioned, on his career. And I think one of my favorite roles of his, which, if I'm not mistaken, might have been his first comedic role, was as the hermit in Young Frankenstein. I read Mel Brooks issued a statement saying that I don't remember if he had approached Mel Brooks or approached Gene Wilder, and he wanted to try his hand at comedy. And so that's how we got The Hermit. And I may be mistaken, but I think he may have been the last surviving cast member of that, not counting Mel Brooks's voice as Victor Frankenstein. Um, I think he was the last actual cast member of that movie, which is a shame because it was a brilliant homage to the Universal monster films, and it was just a comedic genius in its own right. And then, if we're going along with comedic roles, um, I don't necessarily know that it would count as a full on comedic role, but his Lex Luthor in Superman, Superman 2, and even Superman 4 The Quest for Peace, which is one we don't really talk about. He was iconic. He was nothing like the comic book Lex Luthor, nothing like the cartoon Lex Luthor. He took that material and made it completely his own role. But it's probably the most iconic cinematic Lex Luthor that has ever existed, and anybody who comes after is going to have a hard time competing with that because he was equal parts funny, equal parts terrifying, exactly what one would think of a crazed supervillain, and he was perfect in that. And thank you also for bringing up Crimson Tide because he was great. Absolutely great. The tension between him and Denzel Washington was absolutely electric through the entire film. And that's probably my third favorite role of his. Just extraordinary.
How about you, Gina?
I always think of The Firm, Enemy of the State. He also was a small part in The Birdcage. Very funny. I mean, when you're going up against Robin Williams and you have a side role, you have to hold your own. He played the senator in that. He was great. The Royal Tenenbaums, odd movie, very good. He also did that
Yeah,
movie with Ray
I
Romano.
was wondering if anybody was going to mention Welcome to Mooseport because
Welcome to
if
Blue
I'm
Mooseport.
not
Sport.
mistaken, that was the
Yeah.
movie that made him get out of acting. I think that was his last role.
Yeah, that was his last one. That was his last
Yeah.
role. He was
He
like, "That's
always
it."
acted above it. But Hoosiers for me, yeah, he's absolutely amazing in. That movie is such a great sports movie. I usually lean towards a baseball movie when it comes to my sports movies, but I will make an exception for Hoosiers because it's such a good movie. And, Superman, I guess, not my favorite. He's not my favorite superhero. French Connection, amazing. Everything he did, he brought a little bit more to the role. So I will say that. It's just not the ending I would have liked for an actor of his caliber.
No, no, for
It should have
anyone for
been
that
more
matter.
peaceful and not as sensational.
Yeah, just terrible.
And it is. But I'm sure we'll be watching Gene Hackman movies in the next couple months. It'll be like, let's watch Enemy of the State again. You know what I mean? Or a Class
Yeah.
Action, great movie. So there's that. Speaking of acting, Joe, I believe of the three of us, you're the only one actually in plays in high school.
Yes.
I was more on set. What was your best or favorite role?
My favorite role was, to preface, I was Nicely Johnson in Guys and Dolls. I was Maximilian Detweiler, the first secretary to the Ministry of Culture and Education in The Sound of Music. But my favorite role was Rooster Hannigan in Annie, which month will be 30 years now since I played Rooster, and I loved it.
An iconic role
Oh,
by Tim Curry in the movie.
it was just so much fun, so deliciously evil, and I almost blew out the sound system in the auditorium the first time that I did the Rooster call. So that's a memory that they'll never take from me. I'll always have that.
Do we get any little song bits? Can our audience hear a little bit from you? Maybe a little hat, a little music, a little something?
Yeah, give something out there to the oddballs listening. You know, it's all the listeners and the viewers.
How's that? Does that work for you?
Nice.
Let's see.
Yeah, but we need a little song. You know your audience loves it when you sing, Joe.
Rooster Hannigan. All right. I remember the way our sainted mother would sit and croon us her lullaby. She'd say, kids, there's a place that's like no other. You gotta get there before you die. You don't get there by playing by the rule book. You stack the aces, you load the dice. Mother dear, oh, we know you're down there listening. How can we follow your sweet advice? Thank you.
Very nicely
Well
done.
done. Boy, like
This
right
is
off the top of his head, an a cappella, no
30
less,
years since I sang
unaccompanied.
that.
That is
if you would like
unbelievable.
Joe to deliver a singing telegram to
Yeah,
your loved one,
that's
please call
right.
the Oddcast.
Have him come by.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Well, this is
That's pretty
all
great.
to say that it is high school spring musical season. What is the spring musical this year at Hammonton High School, Joe? Can you tell
It
us?
is going to be a show that I wish we had had the opportunity to do. Little Shop of Horrors. I have been a huge fan of this ever since the movie came out with Rick Moranis, I think in 1986. Love everything about it. If I had my druthers, I would have played the dentist, which was played by the iconic Steve Martin in that role. But it is going to be March 13th, 14th, and 15th at 7 p.m. at Hammonton High School. And if I am not mistaken, tickets are $15 and there is reserved seating that you can find through their website. But I am excited for this. Little Shop is such a fun production. It's such a great story. The music is wonderful. Everything about it just screams a good time.
And Gabe, you were not in the play. One of your brothers were, so I know you went to a lot of high school plays back in your
I
day.
did. My brother Frank was in the plays, and I can tell you from then we were little kids. We went to all his plays, like The Music Man and The Man Who Came to Dinner, and what else
South
was there?
Pacific.
There was South Pacific, which was a showstopper for anyone who remembers 1984 and that show. But look, then we just kept going when we were older to the school plays. It's something fun to do. I tell people all the time, it's a night out in town. Go out, enjoy a play, and the kids give their all, and the students, really put a lot of heart and soul into the production. So, here's to all the actors and everyone involved, from the back of the stage to the director to the music. Everyone involved in those productions is somebody who is creating. Again, if there's a theme this week, it's a lot of creativity in the air here. Maybe it's because spring is on its way finally. But yeah, go see a show. Go see a show. Go to Hamilton and enjoy the play, and it's a worthy night out.
Yeah.
We've gone to a lot of plays, Gabe, you and I. Over the years, we've had interns performing or friends' kids. They've always been
Yeah.
enjoyable, except for one very long dance sequence in Brigadoon.
That was in St. Joe. But St. Joe always put on good plays as well. They,
Mm-hmm.
they
Yeah,
for years I mean, and I
I
think
love that musical.
yeah, I mean Hamilton. Yeah, there was a lot of dancing in that particular one, but there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
No,
like
it was fine.
kids seem to like it. But I will say, Hamilton and St. Joe have a proud tradition of student productions, and always in the spring, if I'm remembering, or
Yeah.
mostly in the
Yeah.
spring. And it's just something people. It's a tradition people look forward to every year. So that's great.
So yeah, go
Really
check
great.
it out. Spend a couple hours at the high school, see the play, see how much effort these students have been putting into it. It's a great night out. And then also coming up middle of this month, it's an Italian twist on a mostly Irish holiday. And as someone who has a tiny bit of Irish heritage, I am kind of here for it, as the kids would say, because, why not? Why shouldn't we be part of the celebration too? Joe, what's happening on 3rd Street?
Well, on Saturday, March 15th, the Sons of Italy are having their Festa di San Patrizio uh, at 427 North 3rd Street at the Sons of Italy Hall, and it is 2 p.m. until whenever. They are going to be offering corned beef sandwich platter or a pastrami sandwich platter. Or they're also offering a meatball sandwich for those who aren't necessarily interested in corned beef or pastrami. Rain or shine, Guinness and Jameson specials. And, St. Patrick was a Roman citizen. So, if we take a little bit of liberty, then yeah, okay, he was kind of Italian anyway, so we'll take him. And I've said this for years. If you go to the Sons of Italy Hall once for anything, if you attend the Feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, if you have a cannoli, you're Italian. You're one of us. So, St. Patrick, Roman citizen, we'll take it. He's Italian.
Yeah. And I feel the Suns don't want to wait until July. I think they're like, look, we can have a party now,
Yeah,
right? It's March, close enough. And any excuse is a good excuse to have a good time.
absolutely.
And why not? I can't fault them. I think it's a fun thing. They've done it now. What is this?
It's
This,
a
The
few
third
years
time?
now.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it
I,
should be a good
I love
time.
it. I think it's fun. It helps
It's
break
fun.
up the month. It's a long month. You know, there's no federal holidays. Easter is much later this year, so it's good to have something in the middle of March.
Yeah.
If we go down 3rd Street, cross over Bellevue Avenue, and we go towards Town Hall, on our left is a street. And this is our odd poll question of the week, and this comes from one of our listeners who wants to know, what do you call the street that runs alongside St. Joseph Academy, formerly Hammonton Middle School? Do you call that Vine Street? Do you call that Schoolhouse Lane? Do you not really even think about it?
I mean, for me, it was always Vine Street growing up. But I will say this: when they put all the new street signs up, they're stacked on either side of that street. Central Avenue side, Bellevue Avenue side, three signs, and they say Vine Street, Schoolhouse Lane, Bellevue Avenue. Vine Street, Schoolhouse Lane, Central Avenue. So they use both. I don't know. I always called it Vine Street.
Yeah, yeah, me too. It's Vine Street. Just like that section of Central Avenue is Central Avenue, even if we call it Ronald Reagan Drive, or just like it's Third Street all the way out to the White Horse Pike, even though after a certain point it's
No, it's not.
Wiltsey Mill Lane or Road or whatever. It's Third Street all the way
Road.
out.
Road.
Because we're in Camden County then.
Doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
Third Street.
It changes out.
Well,
He
do
doesn't.
you call it Second Road or do you call it True Road when you make a left at the gas station off of 12th Street and you take that all the way out to Weymouth?
It's Chew Road, and then it becomes Second Road. And when it crosses over Weymouth Road, it's still Second Road, even though I think they call that Blueberry Road over there. It's still Second Road. I don't care what the street signs say.
See, some people think it's True Road all the way out.
No, it's second.
On which side? I mean, it's Chew Road if you turn. If you're going toward Vineland, you make a right. Then
But
it's
if
Chew
you
Road.
if you're heading towards Vineland, you make the left at the gas station,
Yeah.
and there's that, Second Road merges into
Hmm.
it. Some people feel like it's still True Road because the Second Road ends it in, runs into it.
Yeah.
But going back to Schoolhouse Lane, I am a Schoolhouse Lane person because I think it's quaint, it's adorable. Why not? I recognize that former Hampton Middle School librarian Donna Brown would argue with me. She would say her offices were at Central and Vine. So there's that.
You'd have
But
to check
Schoolhouse Lane
the.
is towny. I like that little bit of
It,
towny flavor.
it is nice, and if you like the old Schoolhouse Rock things, I mean, how often do you see Schoolhouse Lane or Schoolhouse anything anymore? And I mean, it's pretty funny because it was never really like a schoolhouse at that site. These were centralized school buildings that were
Yeah.
big, that replaced the old schoolhouses that were scattered throughout town. But Schoolhouse Lane is a name from back when that at some point came back. You would really be able to discern it if you looked at anything that was on Vine Street that had an address and see what the United States Postal Service calls it.
Mm.
So if there's a house or say a historical society building, it'd be interesting to see what they call it.
Well, to our fellow oddballers out there, let us know what you call it. Do you call it Schoolhouse Lane? Do you call it Vine Street? Or you don't really think about it because you don't ever go down that way because you like to go to a light? I like a shortcut, so I tend to use it pretty often. Except on Sundays, because if you go there on Sunday mornings, you get stuck in the Methodist church parking because they're parking on both sides of Schoolhouse Lane, making it a little tight. So I always go to light on a Sunday morning. That's my best advice. In other odd news about New Jersey, did you guys know that the Sandy Hook Lighthouse is the oldest lighthouse in the United States?
I did not know that.
No, I had no clue.
Really?
How old is
Started,
it?
it was finished in 1764, June 11th, 1764, and that's when it was lit for the first time. It is an octagonal figure having eight equal sides, and it was there to help, ships coming into the harbor, especially into the port of New York. And it has survived the revolution. It has survived all kinds of crazy weather systems, and it's been there for Joe. What did you did the math earlier?
261
I
years
said, well, I'm sure you did the
if
math.
my math is accurate. 261 years this June you
Yeah,
said it was completed. So that's
that is just crazy, and it's now a National Historic Landmark, and it was declared that in 1964
ah,
on its 200th anniversary. And it still continues its original function. It is an automated third order Fresnel lens, fixed white light, visible for 19 miles on clear
wow.
nights. And the light is maintained by the United States Coast Guard and is kept on 24 hours a day, according to the National Park Service. Just super cool. Right here in New Jersey, I would say go check it out. And it's for ships approaching lower New York
Hmm,
Harbor.
that's cool.
And it still serves a purpose.
And
It
and
does. And that's
and,
neat. I love that kind of
and it's
stuff.
still in operation. That's the extraordinary part.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, is it going to be foggy this week? Is it going to be snowy, rainy? What is the weather going to
Well,
be?
since you asked, I suppose that means that it is time for the Oddcast Forecast, according to the app on my smartphone, and sponsored by Ben Castone Landscaping. Call Ben Castone for all your landscaping needs at 609 561 3452. They're here to keep your yard looking great no matter what the season or the weather. And thankfully, we are coming out of that little bit of a cold snap that we had, and we're going back to more seasonal temperatures. Wednesday, we are looking at rain, but we're going to have a high of 60 degrees with a low of 48. Thursday, we're looking at partly cloudy with a high of 51 and a low of 32. And Friday, we're looking at partly cloudy again with a high of 52 and a low of 36. No snow on the horizon, thankfully. Maybe some fog, depending on how much moisture remains in the air in the mornings. But other than the rain on Wednesday, we're looking at smooth sailing, I think.
I appreciate that. Well, this has been another great episode, gentlemen. If anyone wants to get in touch with us, wants to sponsor our show or another segment, how can they get in touch with us or send us some fan mail? How can people write into us or call us?
Well, they can find us on Facebook or Instagram. They can email us at jerseyoddcast@gmail.com, or they can call us at 609 444 6178.
Absolutely. And if you don't want to watch the show on YouTube, you can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and Spotify. So you can take the Jersey Oddcast with you wherever you go.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Have a good week.